Surprise! I didn't do the countdown. I know that it was an accident, but for James Manship, who was like, God, can you cut that countdown from 30 seconds to 15? So I just decided to pull my Hunger Games Donald Sutherland in on you guys and be like, hello. So, hello everybody. Welcome to a special episode here on Virginians for Children's First. We have been blessed. I have been blessed to get to know this woman, Lynne Taylor. Her research, if you don't follow her blog, CommonCoreDiva, what most people know her as, but CommonCoreDiva.com. When I started wanting to understand education and what was going on, hers, and she was in North Carolina. I was like, why are all these people so smart in North Carolina? And here we are, like, do. So I've been blessed to have her input. And when we talk about anti-Fed ed, and I couldn't find my anti-Fed ed shirt or my defund Fed ed shirt, so I have my 007 parent shirt on because it just triggers the snowflakes because it has a gun. But so these are like Lynn and I first contact each other when the FTC was doing the COPA, trying to get the age up over 13, and we sat on the phone forever to testify for the FTC. And she and I really met that way. But so this is what she does, is at the federal level stays on top of federal things that we should all be better about. The rewriting of ESSA that just happened in Virginia. I tried to rally people as to why this mattered, as to what it was. But Lynn this is her thing, is she stays on top of the federal stuff. And, it's people like her and Anita Hogue and the amazing Charlotte Iserbyt. Her letter to Reagan as the whistleblower, 1982. Jerome and I in his show the other night talked about that. And I shared a bunch of her documents. 1982. In the beloved Reagan administration, guys. So, these are the people, if you really truly want to understand what I'm saying, or you just don't believe me, or you think that I'm just... But tonight is a topic that, so people, IDEA, if somebody commented, they're like, is this just about IDEA and special education? Well, even if it was, that would not be the attitude that I would take, first of all. Second of all, no, it's not. Nothing is what it seems anymore. And I hope that everybody has gotten at least a grasp of that by now. Okay, one, it's not, because how can one party be saying the same thing that the other party's been saying for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? But we accept it when it's said by one side, not the other. But it's good on one side, not the other. At this point, I hope we're all So I started to realize, because I go to, I hear sped moms crying at the Board of Education, screaming, why won't you take care of my child? I've lived through it with friends here in Chesterfield. The school would rather haul them for truancy because they won't send their kid to school because they can't read, much less at a 7th grade level. They're reading at a 3rd grade level. Schools will haul them in for truancy instead of... One mother that I waged a war in Chesterfield here with, the school division would rather spend $600,000 in 1 month. 1 month to Sans Anderson than take care of her child who they failed. And so when you started, I saw the ESSER money and I was like, wow, $2.3 million. And then when we finally got $700,000 went to special education, where's the rest of the money? And so these questions started going through my head. And I think that's something that everybody needs to understand more of, is what is IDEA? Because obviously the money is not going to the children it's intended for. Where is it going is the question. And when the ESSER documents came out and I found a funding matrix from Second Step, Castle, social emotional learning, that was how to use IDEA, and it had every state per dollar how they could use IDEA for SEL. That's when the wheels started turning for me. So back to she's amazing and she's on top of things. And so there is currently a revision of IDEA that's very frightening. Up, and you have until August 1st, which I'm guessing, like all things, is really July 31st at 11:59 to midnight. So to comment, and people, I think at this point in time are so like, it doesn't matter, my comments don't matter. Well, if everybody thinks that, it's like the jab. It doesn't matter. Like the 1 in 7 were the ones that were not living under a vaccine mandate right now. So, the power of if everybody made a comment on a federal document, if one out of every division in the state of Virginia commented, no matter how futile you thought it was, what a difference we could make. Maybe. I don't know. Because we'll pull the document up in a second. There's not that many comments on a federal document. And so here's Lynne. She's amazing. We've had her here in Virginia to talk about how, yes, Virginia does have Common Core, and we've had it the whole time. But, she's amazing. She's been all over the place today. And, this is like people like she and I, like, we just want people to get it. And like my subtitle, get in the arena. Parents, you don't like politics? Don't care. You have to get in the arena. Education is politics, period. You're sending your kids to school anywhere? Homeschoolers, yep, got to get in the arena. Privates, yep, got to get in the arena. And guys, if y'all don't understand that by now, they're coming for all of our kids. And that's what we're going to show you here. Right, left, up, down, doesn't matter. And so we all have to get in the arena, and we do it together. So out of North Carolina, my favorite Southern lady, here is CommonCoreDiva, Miss Lynne Taylor.
Hello,
Hey.
Miss Ann. Thank you so much for that introduction. And you're absolutely right. If we don't get in the arena, and what I mean by that is you need to take responsibility for your child. I took responsibility for mine. Okay.
Right.
I can lead you to what to be arming yourself up for, but I cannot fight your fight for you. You have
Yeah.
to dig into everything that is being laid out before you to understand that while the idea updates they want to do are using special needs children and families, because it doesn't just stop at Johnny and Susie, Ann. It's
No.
about Johnny and Susie's mom and dad and grandma and grandpa too. But again, they're using the special needs families as, oh, here's who we really want to benefit. But oh, yeah, by the way, that unintended consequence, all those homeschoolers that might have special needs or might not, we don't care because we're after every one of your kids.
Yeah. It makes me think about, and I'm going to try and pull it up here. I pulled it up numerous times, but so Jillian Balow, Youngkin's first appointee to the
Mhm.
state superintendent, I was happening to watch a recording of her about they had received an award like the same time that we've been like filed dinged like by FedEd like 800 times. They got an award the same month. And I just happened to pull this video up and I caught something out of my ear and it was like it said yeah, for so all children, we're going to use special education as like the sounding
Mhm.
board for all children to have individual education plans. And I went,
Yeah.
and I sent it to like I said, am I here? Like, did she really? And at that point, it rang very like, well, okay, but they admitted it, like
Yeah.
they said, all, and so
Yeah.
it's like I told like, when you hear things like that, how exactly are all children? No human teacher one can do that. Like,
Well, here's how, because when the Every Student Succeeds Act shifted its Title I funding from per pupil to
explain
whole
that for me
school.
because I was
Okay.
trying to tell somebody that because
Hmm.
the Virginia Department of Education has a huge presentation about Title I schools, how parents the whole procedure for parents must be involved. But if all schools are essentially Title I schools, is that how we interpret it? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Because here's what happened, Anne. Okay. And you can thank one of the idiot representatives from North Carolina who took it under his wing to recalculate how Title I funding was to work.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
before Every Student Succeeds Act's reauthorization, or excuse me, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act's reauthorization into the Every Student Succeeds Act.
So Obama. So after,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
Natala's
but remember it
behind.
was remember it was bicameral, bipartisan. It wasn't
Well,
just
yeah, I'm just
Virginia.
saying, I'm
Yeah,
just saying like the president, like,
right,
so it's
right.
like,
So that would have been 2014, 2015. Okay.
yes,
So Title I funding was supposed to go to Johnny and Susie in the school who had the special need and needed either the educational service or the healthcare service. Okay. Anything that connected to education that would help them be all that they could be. It was when it was recalculated to shift it away from those students who needed it to everybody in the school, student, teacher, administrator.
yes, yes,
That's when it changed. That's when you started seeing the families have to do without because the administration had to be paid. And if you look at these proposed changes for the IDEA Part B, because they're doing a real shell game at the federal level, and we'll get into that. But if you look at the Part B things that they want to change, it's going, we're going to reach down into preschool. And whether
yeah,
you're disadvantaged or disabled or special needs or not, you're going to get the same level of treatment
yes,
because the Every Student Succeeds Act, under one of the Medicaid mandatory services from 1992, specifically said, and I quote, dear, hang on just a second. Where is it? I've got to get to it. I am so sorry. I thought I had it right there. Okay,
no,
it's on the next page. Okay, here we go. This is going to be page 228 on the 1992 Medicaid requirements. Federally qualified health center and all their services. So when Title I shifted away from the family, from the pupil to the whole school, it made the school a what? Federally recognized what? Medical center, which
got it.
is why we have so much overreach, over medication, interventions, and these proposed changes want to start it earlier and earlier. Now, that's just the Federal Registry document. We got two others that either Ed or Health and Human Services has gone, oh, well, while they're so busy looking at the proposed Part B changes, we're going to get in there and we're going to monkey with it even more.
Yeah, I don't think people realize too that we're not when we that when we talk about, I'm gonna take that off.
Okay.
Sorry. That when we talk about, it's not just fed ed, like it's agriculture, it's labor, like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like when you pull up the Department of Education, it literally says the workforce, like it's
Yeah.
like it's is that we're talking about the interagencies, like so it's not just
Right.
when we talk the data mining, it's not just fed ed
No, this
getting the
is in
data.
no, this
I
is
mean,
interagency. It absolutely is. Now, one of the things about those proposed idea changes, and people are going to go, well, I may not have a special needs child, but did you just hear what I said? Whether you have a
mhm.
disability or not, this is coming
Right.
for
So
you.
just to real quick,
Yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
typed in Title One into my
Right.
one of my many drives of, and I had saved. This is the 2020. This came obviously from the Department of Education.
Hmm.
Every Virginia county and how much Title One money that they got.
Right.
Fairfax, one of the least poor districts ever in Virginia. Like it is, I will say there are parts of Fairfax that are, but still, $26 million in Title One money. Not
Hmm.
those kids are not seeing that money. I live in Chesterfield. I can tell you, $8.5 million. Those two kids, and so that's what you need. On the dollars is what people like don't. But the areas that that need the money, like I
Yeah.
can look here and say Halifax. Let's get like why with is that you want to talk about, because the original intention, my understanding is that Title One was supposed to be like like the actual schools that had the poverty based on poverty ability to pay. Those schools actually got the money. Is that not what Title I was originally?
It was supposed to be, but because it's gotten so convoluted, it now attaches to IDEA funding as well, which if people don't know what that is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act money.
Right.
So they've kind of combined both of those into one pot, and if you look at the Every Student Succeeds Act, the largest power increase was given to the Department of Health and Human Services because, after all, since we're now federally recognized medical health centers, or as I love to call them, the quasi health centers, we've seen the overreaches into the social and emotional learning, down to the multi-tier
Yeah.
support, the positive behavior interventions,
Yeah.
we have to stick a label on everybody to get them in some sort of program or some sort of medication. And we're seeing things that are happening to our students that should never have happened because healthcare was not supposed to be it wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to be in education.
And that's the thing I
to the
tell
level
people.
that it has become.
That's why I tell people all the time when they have questions about mental health. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
we have a mental health problem. So it's in our family life. It's in our, pretty much the only thing in our health standards. Now we have
Right.
social emotional learning standards. And we just had almost, besides one senator, Amanda Chase in Chesterfield, because she listened to her constituents and was this only senator to vote no
Mm-hmm.
on adding a mental health curriculum. Well, the VDOE doesn't develop curriculum, first of all. They develop standards. So now we're going to have mental health and family life, and then you have systemic SEL. And me in the Senate, how much more mental health are you going to give these kids before you realize you are the problem by giving it to them without their parents ever knowing?
Right.
And you miss the ones who need it by giving it to the tier 1 universal.
Exactly. Exactly. And, here's what I want folks to understand is with the proposed changes that they want to make, and whether you physically attend that school or not, it doesn't matter, because the way that the Health and Human Services school-based service document shows, if you live in the community, if you
Is
live
that the
in
big
this.
one?
Yeah, that's the
This
big one.
one?
Yeah, that one right there.
Okay.
See that school-based setting, comprehensive guide to Medicaid. Well, people are saying, wait a minute, you've talked about Title I, now you're talking about Medicaid. Do understand, Medicaid is IDEA now. It didn't
Yes.
used to be,
I
but
noticed
it
that
is.
at the VDOE page last
Yeah,
year because I had
yeah.
heard somebody start talking, and I was like, well, it's right there. Like
Right.
Medicaid. Like,
Well, now, but let me just point out that some of the proposed changes, not only does it want to remove parental consent and for what happens with your special need child, but it now is saying we're going to rope the entire neighborhood, whether you attend the school or you don't, we're going to rope the entire family into that school-based service. And here's the thing, if you're seeing a healthcare provider that you chose who isn't Medicaid credentialed, they're going to have to become Medicaid credentialed in order to participate in
so
this
it's pulling
system.
everybody. It's like the tutoring thing
Yeah,
that just happened here.
yeah.
Oh, go get a tutor. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but you go to your tutor and you don't get the 25. I was like, people, please don't sign up to get this tutor. Like,
Now
please,
go ahead.
please don't sign up because anytime, nothing is free. Like,
Oh no. This
is that
is going to cost
they are
us
not
dearly.
offering you $2,500 for the recovery of learning loss that's been here for a decade because of COVID. Like,
Right.
please do not apply to get that money. Like, or force your tutor to then apply to then have to be under the umbrella. It's just like,
Right.
please just think before you say free money. Nothing is free.
No, it is, if it doesn't cost us taxpayers more, the other cost will be literally with the human lives that this
Yes.
damages. Now,
Yeah.
don't lose the fact that parental consent is being sought after to end, Anne, on
Oh,
what
I know.
happens to your child in that
Listen, we have
school.
a
And
governor who wants to call it parental authority, and is that? Oh, I trust me. I've read 800 law reviews and can
right,
recite how
right.
they're literally calling it parental authoritarian. Like, it's evil. It's evil that
Well,
we want to direct our children.
right.
Like,
Well, this is on page 11 of the proposed changes. Just listen to this. This report recommends establishing an integrated framework of educational, social, emotional, and behavioral health support for all to leverage policy and funding.
page
And
11
then
of
it
that.
goes And then it goes
Oh,
on to tell you Medicaid is one of our nation's primary sources of funding for health and mental health services for children with and without disabilities, covering approximately 41.6 million children and 42% of all childbirths, and funding health and mental health services in schools. And it goes into early diagnostics. And
is
then
this
it
the
goes
right
into,
one?
yes, ma'am, that is the right one. And
Okay.
this is something that it just absolute. No, wait a minute. That's the Health and Human Services one. This
Which
one
one should I
that
be on?
I'm so sorry. The Federal Registry one is the assistance to states
Right
for the
here?
the assistance to states for the federal. Excuse me. Let me start over. Assistance to the states for the education of children with disabilities. That sounds lovely, doesn't it? Until you get into the meat of the document where it says,
Right.
oh, yeah, we're going to take away parental consent for every time we use that child's funding. We just want it one and done with the consent. And then, oh, yeah, every year we'll re-up mom and dad and their consent. Now, here's the problem with that. You should have parental consent every single time that school does something to your child. And look at the things
Yes.
that are going on without the parents knowing about it. And you're now going to say, oh, we need to do that. And what is their justification for removing all the parental consent, Anne? It
Because
streamlines the data and it makes all those people in administration it makes their job so much easier. And if you
yeah.
go in and you read the comments that have been made, especially the first 20 or so, you will see the
What
administration of several states go, oh, we want to get rid of parental consent because after all, it is just so burdensome and it makes my job so much harder. Just parents are just in the way and we just don't need them.
I was in the Senate Sub-Ed Committee with the
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Counselors Association on my education transparency legislation, and the representative for the counselor, she said, "What am I supposed to contact parents every time?" And I went, "Yes, it's literally codified in Virginia. You are. It's right
Yeah.
here."
Yeah. And
Like,
that's,
but the counselors association, they have that mentality of, "What am I supposed to contact parents? Do you know how?" Like, literally, she said that. She was like, "Do you know how much paperwork that is, or how much?"
well,
Then
on the,
stop counseling kids so much, and it wouldn't be like
well,
literally just put your foot in your mouth.
but here's the thing, you should have consent every single time because it's your child and your duty to protect that child. And God forbid if that school, whether you attend that school or you're now in that school based service, you should know what's going on because it was God who said, you know what, I'm putting you in charge of nurturing and protecting that child. And this removes that.
This is the
And it's
thing is
supposed to
that,
be okay because data's going to take care of it all.
listen, they'll tell data. Okay. Queen of Data is our sec ed here. They've been mining data. Like, she started
Yeah,
the statewide longitudinal database, never mentioned the word FERPA out of her mouth since she's been our Secretary of Education, ever.
right,
Or will anybody regurgitate the fact that Bill Gates, look up how much money data quality campaign he's given her, Amy Gadara.
right.
And they still don't process that. Like, well, we haven't heard about. Well, we should have heard about data by now from our governor or our Secretary of Education,
And go
considering that
listen
she's
to,
the founder of Data Quality Campaign.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Now, in these proposed changes, because, oh,
which
yes,
one
they
are we
have,
at now?
okay,
Are
we're
we at
still on we're
the?
still on the assistant to the state level. I wanted to show folks, let's see, Ann, let me get, that is
I
the
have the
one.
federal registry pulled up. If you just tell me where you
Yeah,
are.
yeah. I'm trying to see here. It says, I'm trying to get to the part where it starts talking about, oh, the money. Okay,
So
the
guys, all
money.
right. So I've posted the federal registry,
Good,
and it's
good.
gonna be, let's see, in the
Now you can get
YouTube.
a PDF version of the proposed changes, and that's what I did so that I could go through it with my little handy dandy marker.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
posting. It's either
towards
gonna be
the
in. I
yeah,
don't know if it's
this
gonna
is
show
on
up.
right.
It
This
should
is
show
on
up everywhere.
page 26. Now remember, this is like a 40-page document. It's on page
Now,
26, and where they start talking about the initial cost and the benefits. And oh, how
now, are
much
you
this
in the
is.
big document? Because
Yeah.
when I hit PDF right here, it's only 9 pages.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I wonder if
it's
they've
on.
gone. Oh, okay. Well, I do know that when I
This,
got this, oh, they've changed. Oh, they've changed it. That's from the Federal Registry. No, I went in
yeah.
and I got the document. It's 34 CRF Part 300, docket
That's what I
number.
do is right here.
Yeah,
Okay, so what I
yeah.
do is I go through and I find like
Hmm.
the what it is now or what they've changed it to, and I
Yeah,
backtrack and I find all the red outs and I find everything
right.
that's been
Well,
changed.
the
Okay,
reason why I wanted to point to the cost and the benefit, because the changes make it sound like, oh, and it's going to be such a great
yeah.
money saver for everybody, and it's
No, no.
going to
Mm-mm.
benefit the families so much. Do you want to know by the time it trickles down to the family? First of all, how much do you.
You don't even know it's going like
Okay, but here's the thing. They'll talk about the costs and the benefits and this, and then they'll sit there and go, "Oh yeah, well the overall benefit to the school is maybe $15 per student." And then, "Oh yes, the benefit to the family, I hope you're ready. This is such an insult to every family, whether you're special needs or not. $3.60. But yet
to
we're
do
going to
what
make
to my
all.
child?
Yeah, to do what? Exactly. To take away my permission for what you do to my child, and then you're going to tell me all I'm going to get out of this is $3.60. Well, first of all, your child is priceless. But for the government to be so demeaning to say this is what we think your child is worth, I mean, it's an insult, an absolute insult. And the other thing that
And guys, real
wasn't
quick,
on. Go
here,
ahead.
August 1st, don't forget. I think it's like 6 days.
Yeah,
If we go back, right
right.
here. So I've posted, it's the Federal Registry,
Yeah.
submit a formal comment. This whole nation, there are 1,200
100
comments.
come. Do you know when I first got onto this, there were 12, and that's all it's grown to. And I have
And
done
then here's
two.
the thing is that when it closes, record how many comments because I have the SEL and it was
Yeah.
98% in the town hall. Absolutely
Hmm.
hell no. Mm-mm, no, no, no. They don't
Right.
care. They
This
did it
one,
anyway.
this one is an insult to parents if you look at some of the comments, but I don't want us to look at the comments because we
Yeah, no, I
need to.
can't. I don't
We need
appreciate
to. Yeah, we need to
Yeah.
understand this was not written into the proposed changes. It was only after I started doing so much research. Now, when I say I've done research on this whole topic we're talking about, 2 articles of my own and at least half
Yes.
a dozen shows on various
Right.
outlets. It
Guys,
is
this is Lynn's
absolutely,
blog. And it goes, I mean,
absolutely
she's been doing
amazing.
this. I mean, this she does what I wish I could write as much. But I mean, it's an invaluable resource. Okay,
Well,
from
thank
here
you.
to 10 years ago. When did you start? I mean,
Honey,
Tech Thursday.
I started blogging in 2014,
Okay,
but I
so about
started research in 2008.
yeah. But I
Okay.
mean, and is that? I mean, you want to find out what's going on? Like, I mean, this woman's amazing. Like,
Well, thank you.
and so this is, here. This is one of the most recent ones she's done.
Yeah, that was raising the alarm about this because that shows you the existing funds. It shows you all the networking. It shows you everything. But Anne, one of the things that I've been able to find out since doing those 2 articles was that Chip Roy out of Texas has
Um,
proposed an amendment that showed up on House Report 118 12. The report number is 128. Okay. It will amend the National H.R. 5, which is the federal level parental rights bill, to include that Title I money will follow students whether they're in public, private, or home school. So dare
Texas
you
brought
tell
school.
me,
Dare to
tell
tell
me
me
that I don't know what
parental.
I'm talking about.
Why have I said don't bring a parents' right bill anywhere near me? Be a
Yeah.
Matt Gates. Everybody's like Matt Gates voted was the only go. Be a Matt
But
Gates.
here's the
Okay.
here's the thing: when any government, state, local, or federal, says, "Oh, parents, you have the right to A, B, C, and D," you
I already know
already
that. Thank
possess
you.
those rights as a natural, inherent right from when you became a parent. And when they enumerate these rights, it means you just gave them power to change that right or take it away. And removing parental consent is just a step in the removing of your say over your child.
Yes, it is.
And we're
It
going
is
to
that.
use the special needs audience to bring this about. And
Yes,
then
it
we're going
is.
to have some idiot out of Texas who's a good old boy, because after all, the Republicans can do no wrong when it comes to education.
Do not codify my rights. Like,
Yeah,
no,
you
don't
no,
do
you
it.
don't want them. But now he's going
No.
to attach it to Title I funding, which will include IDEA and Medicaid, and go, yeah, we're going to follow the child, just like those corrupt education savings accounts. And that's the purpose, is because with the education savings account, much like this Title I funding, you attach the money to the child for the data trail.
Yep. Like
Now,
people, just I shared this earlier is, about Anita. And
right,
I've shared womb to tomb with people before
right.
and the data, because right now
Mm-hmm,
we're in another back to school session, and I'm like,
mm-hmm.
if you're not opting the child out of a behavior screener,
Yeah,
especially, is that there's something wrong with you, especially when I've shown you the data it spits out on your child that will stay with
right.
them 75 years post graduation. Most parts of this state use the same one. I did the show with Deb on it about that China uses, okay?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that when you have China has what? A social credit score. And most places are using the BAS3, and they use it almost always for special education kids. And then they're using the beers, which is part of that, for a lot of parts of the state. And then when I show you that these little benign questions that parents are like, hey, no big deal. Okay, it is a big deal because all that goes somewhere. And then I show you what it's going to spit out on your kids when we're talking
mm-hmm.
about EQ over IQ, and
Yeah,
like your kid's brain, it's their emotion, is that you gotta, I can't even imagine, like, is that why
right,
people are not doing it? Like, I don't care what your principal told you. Call me. I'll go up there with you, because I did it
right.
myself in this county, who originally told me that you can't see the curriculum. There is no PPRA. And I went to war with them last year, and I kicked the door down, not only on my child, but for all 69 schools. So don't tell me it can't be done. But it's like, I
Exactly.
can't, when they send it out and then I hear that only 200 parents and 63,000, now I'm granted most of them have no clue. I
Right.
hope by
Well, no,
now, but if something gets sent to you to opt out, opt them out. Like,
right, right. And Part B services, just so we are clear on what they are, because I know there's going to be somebody who go, well, what is a Part B service? That is any sort of therapy, be it occupational,
okay, I'm gonna pull
physical,
that up right here.
speech. Okay, so it's
Okay, so I
occupational.
$2.5 billion
Mhm.
right
Yeah.
here.
So you have occupational, then you have speech, physical, then you have mental health, you have transportation to and from doctor's visits, you have dentists, you have vision, you have counseling for families. That's all roped in. Now, Part C, and this is the shell game that happened just yesterday by the Department of Education. They came out and said, well, effective
Grants for
immediately,
infants, toddlers.
we're going to
Like,
go in and we're going to, effective immediately, we're going to change Part C, which goes from birth to 2 years, infant and toddlers, especially to increase the amount of early interventions. Now, Part C services also include counseling, but they also go into home visits.
hell no. Stay hell out of my house.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let any, I don't
Mm-hmm.
care. Teachers haven't wanted you in the building, and now that's another thing the
Right.
VEA admitted, was that they're telling they're like, we are encouraging our teachers to do home visits. And I was like, y'all
Now,
said that in front of the wrong person.
right. Now, let me tie
Don't let
this.
a teacher in your house, period.
Well, here's the thing: no representative from the federal government by constitutional standards and
No, they're not law
parameters
enforcement.
should not be in your home because of the
No.
Fourth Amendment. And if you
Even
don't know your right,
CPS, they're
if
not
you
like,
if you don't know your Fourth Amendment, this would be high time to learn it, because
yeah.
the states sold their sovereignty to the Department of Education and all the other unconstitutional agencies related. They sacrificed their Ninth and 10th Amendment to sovereignty for this kind of stuff to happen. So your last bastion to your family is your Fourth Amendment, which it goes on to tell you, if there's not just cause and no warrant, no inter household, no
Yeah.
matter what. Now, let's tie all these proposed changes and immediate impactful changes that didn't wait on public comment, Anne, because, oh, why should we do that?
Is that
Let's just
these
go ahead.
here?
Yeah, let's go ahead and
Okay.
get that done. That was brought out yesterday, just yesterday.
Oh,
But
look, wait. So
Yeah.
the AR, so that was COVID money.
there you go. Uh-huh.
So the
There
COVID
you
money
Mhm.
changed without anybody knowing,
Yep. And there's where it went. And there's part C and
with
part
no
B.
commenting. Just like Obama changed FERPA without
So you get
the
to
Senate.
but see, the government's so nice, in because they let us comment on B, but they didn't give us a chance on part C. They just said, no, we're going to go in and do it. And do you want to know why? It was because the Department of Health and Human Services had just trotted out this almost 200-page document on how to take advantage of the school-based services. So they had to go ahead and start something. And so while we think we have time to comment on B, we're going to go ahead and get the ball rolling through early interventions and home visits and all the other stuff that we can get away with until we get those public comments. Now, I heard you say during the introduction about why not comment. Here's why I will comment. Whether I am in the minority or not, I could give a rat's bottom about. My family knows I'm against this. And if I don't comment and make that dissidence public, who else will know? Is not
Right.
as important as my family knowing I'm standing up for them. I'm leading by example. So don't expect me to comment for you when
No.
you need to be exemplifying to your family who you were given protection over or given to not show them that you're willing to do what it takes, even if it means being ostracized, to stand up for them.
Yeah. Girl, I'm with you. Like, but it's like I comment everywhere. Like,
Right.
it's that I will make my mark on every federal document that Virginia was no longer, even if I'm the only person, is that we were out for every document that went in the last 15 years. No,
Right.
that, and even if I'm the only person, but is that I will make my mark. And so when ever comes to pass, is that it was known that
Yeah.
we the people, is that this is what
Right.
why vote? Why comment? Why vote? It's literally the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not going to take time to understand the documents, it's like, and then understand that for 8%, it's like in most divisions, it works out between like 207. This is total federal. I've done spreadsheets on it. We give away 100% of our our autonomy for 8%, which works out to about $200 to $500 per pupil. We give away our complete control to the federal government for 8%. And people are like, oh, 8%. Hey, that must be a lot of, well, first of all, it's 8%.
But remember that this impacts not just public schooling. This is public, private, homeschool. And so you got to be ahead of this. Now, I want to backtrack just a minute, and then I want us to finish up with this school-based health services, because that's huge. And this, I think, was in my very first article about all these
Yeah, and I want to
changes.
give people the best place to go to read,
Okay.
like the Federal Registry. Would that be the best most concise place to read to comment on? Because especially if people are new,
Would,
like,
but yeah, it would, but I would suggest reading my 2 articles and then go look at the
okay,
Federal Registry.
okay,
Now, the reason I say that is because I had back in April, I had attended a webinar by the US Department of Education. And just so happens
aren't they
that
fun?
it was ahead of these proposed changes, not by much, but here's where they connect, because here was the name of the workshop, and here are my notes from it. It was called
God bless you.
Blending and Braiding Funding for Full Service Community Schools. Now, Health and Human Services is calling it school-based services. Same thing, different animal, okay? It tells
Communities
us,
and schools, guys. Communities and schools. Look it up in
here's what
Virginia.
it
Look it
tells
up.
us. Here's what it tells us. It was from the attitude of, we're giving you the opportunity. It was a spin because it showed you, oh, well, if you're wanting to take advantage of the federal money that's out there for your school to become a full service community school and offer all these school based services, including mental health overreaches, we're going to teach you how to double dip into the system. It included public-private partnerships. It also threw in social and emotional learning, college and career readiness, which is a rebrand for college Common Core state standards. It even threw in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, which is from the UN. It threw in everything in the kitchen sink, and here was their
Wait,
justification.
one more time. Repeat that for me. STEM is what? Just so I'm not the only one
United
saying it.
Nations. Yeah,
Okay.
United Nations. Yeah. Okay. Here were some of their justifications for having these blending and braiding of funds so you could double dip, which, if anyone knows how our government works, that is called a felony.
Correct.
And if we did it, we would be under the jail. But our school systems are doing it hand over fist, and no one is holding them accountable. But it gave 3 buckets.
Like,
And this is from,
what if I had a shell company that gave me $1 million, but it didn't, like, if that was me, I would be arrested. But I mean,
yeah.
governor, like, you're totally allowed to do that.
Oh, but it's okay. We're going to let you go because after all, you're a politician. Okay, this is using Philadelphia as an example. And this was how their full service community school was getting out into the community. And it was absolutely amazing because they were using tutoring captains through the neighborhood. And you were talking about tutors. They were using tutoring captains to get you on the same page. And oh, yes, we have gone through and recreated our parks to where there are all kinds of hands-on, anywhere, anytime learning resources.
Oh my God, I don't ever want to hear anytime, anywhere. I don't ever
I
want to hear it.
understand, but we have an audience to serve, so I know. Anyway,
Guys,
so
that's another one of those buzzwords, real quick.
3,
Anytime, anywhere, like, your alarm should go off. Like,
well, that was all the reason to get everybody on the internet and get them, a device in their hands. Here are your 3 buckets, okay? And this is targeting 0 to 9-year-olds, including special needs. There's the family bucket, self-explanatory, or maybe not, because let's think about it. If you're taking away parental consent, who's the parent? Who's the family? Okay.
those are another things, guys, is that when you read these documents and it says like parent or custodian, remember that in loco parentis is a legal term, never meant for public schools to have full unfettered access. The teachers stand in guardianship and custodianship of your, but on the flip side, is that makes them also responsible for, like, this whole debate about if teachers having, like, rape. Like, there is no consent when somebody stands in guardian custodianship. Like, I don't care if the children are 16, 17, 18. That would be like a parent being like, well, my son was 17. Is that you have to think of it like that. Like, they stand in guardianship. That means that as the parent that they took from you, that we did not give, that everything that happens, whether it's what they teach, I used the drug assignment on my daughter at 11. Right. You taught her how to use it. Then you sent her home with an assignment to find it in my house, to look for the pill in the bottle. If she OD'd, you stand in the parent that you thought that assignment was completely inappropriate, or completely appropriate and a good idea for an 11-year-old. you have to know these things about what your kids are learning, because if my daughter OD'd, who would be blamed? Me.
You would.
Who
You
it
would.
right. There's
But
is
here's
that
how
you don't
they're right.
you can't have rights without responsibilities, and that's the way you come at these people, is that you don't get to take it from me, but you have no responsibility for the blowback on what happens.
Exactly. And here's the danger, especially for those homeschoolers, because we know that, they are the custodians. They are the protectors. Here's how the school gets into that is because they sit there and they say, wait a minute, if you're not learning the way we think that you should learn on those home visits, or you're not medicating the way that we think you should learn, then the school becomes the custodial.
Yes.
Then it has the foot in the door. All right, that was the family bucket.
I had a real quick homeschool
Mhm.
parents. I had a friend in a county over who contacted me, had her homeschool home visit, and the questions were extremely intrusive
Right.
and not how they used to be. And she was smart enough to ask the woman to leave.
Good.
And
Good.
then she called her supervisor and requested another one. Is that that's the things that you need if you're homeschooling, that should signal there's been a shift here, something's very wrong. Like, and
Yeah.
Virginia's a horrible like what the restrictions they have
Right.
on it
Right. Well,
anyway.
the
But all
second
right,
the second bucket is called the just bucket. What is that attached to? Social justice. What is that? We have to
wait,
be
this is IDEA.
this includes IDEA. Yeah. Yeah. And then the last bucket is community, because we have to all be in this together. And
Socialism.
And this is what the Department of Education back in April was saying, oh, yeah, we want more of this. We want more of this. So then they come in May. Here's Part B changes. Then they come in yesterday, the end of July, say, okay, we're effective immediately changing Part C.
That's this one, right?
Yeah. And then in between B and C, okay, one you get to comment on, one you just have to put up with. Here comes the Department of Health and Human Services, and this is where I want to go. On page 103.
So this just came out yesterday. Let's see.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, July.
That came
Okay.
out yesterday.
All right. So what am I clicking on? Up
Okay,
here.
so if you'll go to the delivering services in school-based settings, we're going to hang out there for
Where's that?
That was one of the links you clicked on, sweetheart. I don't know from how
The
many
big
you have.
document.
Yes, ma'am. It was the big one.
The
Okay,
front.
I want you.
Okay.
I want you to go to page 53.
53. Sorry.
This will show you the cost pools that your school-based services will be lumped into. And I wanted to point out a couple of things, because this is where they're going to
Okay.
start using those codes.
Oh, look at that.
They're going to start using those codes. And look at there, nurses and nurses services, therapists, including mental health, SUD is substance abuse, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech, rehabilitation. Now, notice they have direct services, indirect services. Later in this document, and they will show you how to split those codes so that depending on who you are, as to what service that code will cover and what it won't. And here's why this is important. If you'll go to page 103.
I just want everybody to focus on this real quick. In your comments, if this is all you know, and that this is not limited to special education, correct? Okay.
No, this is not.
And this will not require parental consent.
That's right.
Okay. Then there you go. And not to mention that our special ed kids who this money is supposed to go to are not even being screened or appropriately educated in the first place. And now you want to take care of the whole child is what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. If you're like me and you didn't need that special needs money, I have special needs friends who did. And how dare someone say, oh, well, you need it just as much as they do. No, I didn't. But I can't give it to them. I absolutely can't. All right. I want you to go to page 10. I want you to go to page 103, because there's going to be
I don't want to give people 103.
Yeah, there's a glaring word that's automatically roped in.
I didn't want to give people a headache as I scroll through.
That's okay. That's okay.
103.
Yes, ma'am. Page 103.
What am I looking at?
Okay, hang on. Let me just.
Vaccines. Oh my God.
There you go. I knew you'd get it. I knew you'd get it. So there we go. And this is getting into the part of, not.
Vaccines for Children program.
Yes, ma'am. And if you see some of the if you see the real purpose behind Sound of Freedom is to help embed chips into the kids.
Yes.
So they.
If you notice that he got chipped with, and nobody else in the theater, I was like, did y'all see that?
Yeah.
And that thing, okay, that movie finished recording. They finished it 5 years ago. And this was a decade ago. They could chip a decade ago with a syringe. Okay, that right there. I was like, did anybody else see that? Thank you for bringing that up, because I was like,
Here's the thing. Kentucky's already started with some of their little ones with the RFID chip.
are you?
No, I'm not. I'm
And
not.
parents will be sold this because what if your child is lost?
Well,
What if your child? That's how they're sold us. Is that
all right?
well?
But
If your
let's think about where we are right this second. This is telling you this is the V for C program. All right. Think about how the CDC has just updated to the plethora that now must be required. And this is going to tell you, oh, our local education agents or the LEAs will be able to use cost pool money from these school-based services and to cover it. As taxpayer
wait. States may suspend or terminate efforts to seek reimbursement from a liable third party if they determine that the recovery would not be cost effective pursuant to 42 CFR for including for IDEA or 504 plans. This could ease administrative burdens in schools.
Oh, how lovely. Oh,
that sounds like, you know what? We're just not going to fire that teacher. We're just going to let them quit instead of having to report them for raping or assaulting a child.
Right.
That it's just too much paperwork. Just go to a different district.
Yeah. Now, we don't have to go there, but I'm going to tell folks, if you want to understand these codes for services and how they're split.
Oh my God, trauma codes.
You're gonna find that on pages 118 through 120. Then on pages 126 and 127, how third-party contracts are allowed in your school. And this is where we have those people, if they're not Medicaid credentialed, then they can't treat your child. Well, think about the independent doctor that you know and love and have held on to. If they don't get on board with this, they're not going to be able to treat your child. Yeah. So we're going to run out all the good teachers. We're going to run out all the good doctors.
That's the plan, teachers. We just passed I Teach, and I'm sitting there listening to all these superintendents talking about how great it's TFA, and I know the board that up there that Youngkin appointed, it's all TFA from back to Clinton, and I'm sitting there going, you guys are literally giving your jobs away. You're up here complaining about money, but all of you were like, oh, I Teach is great. And I'm like, okay.
Other pages that you want to know about. Page 131, this is what is not Medicaid and how it can be included. 132 is what is called Medicaid outreach. And when you go back and look at what they're considering as outreach. All right.
What page? 131?
That was 131, 132. Then on pages 134 and 135, you have schools and education-related activities. Okay. Now, they're used.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just caught real quick that. Oh, but isn't it so nice? Oh, they mentioned FERPA.
Oh, but it's gutted. It's worthless.
It is gutted. It is gutted. But here it might be gutted, but still, you still have directory. Is that we don't even get the forms. Yeah. No matter how much federal law you show the division, you have to give us this. Yeah. You have to. And it's in the Virginia Code too. But, okay, so this isn't, all right.
All right, now, go to page 150. And for those who are not being able to see the screen, this is the example from Colorado. And I was on a show and somebody asked me, well, why in the world are you reading from Colorado? Because they have so honed this system and that they're being used as a model for the entire nation. So here we go.
Every state's the same. Just because you hear me talk about a different state, it just means that they've honed, they've perfected.
I wanted to
Okay, so
make
right
that
here.
distinction so that people know, well, wait a minute, she's from Virginia, she's from North Carolina, well,
Same
this is
thing.
from Colorado. It's all the same. All right, so here we go. Licensed practical nursing, nurse's aide, health technician, personal care aide, or teacher's aide, bus or vehicle aide, psychologist, school psychologist, counselor, social worker, clinical social worker, marriage and family therapist, applied behavior analyst, speech language pathologist candidate, so you don't even have to be licensed,
Yep.
speech language pathology assistant, audiology candidate. Again, where's the license? And here's the thing, I wouldn't want people giving my children these services if they didn't have a license. Speech and language impairment teacher, occupational therapy, certified occupational therapy assistant, physical therapy assistant, or any other job category outlined in your Medicaid plan. So just take out Colorado and stick in your state.
Paraprofessional, like
Now
is
that is from one cost pool. Here's the other one. This is the administrative. This is where all the money's going that you've been asking about. There it is. Administrators.
that's supposed to go to the children to help
ma'am.
the special education children. Just to clarify that.
And remember, we're making all these people's jobs so much easier by removing parental consent. So administrators, counselors, interpreters, interpreter assistants, pupil support service administrators, psychologists, interns. Again, are you really licensed?
No.
And that's psychology. Okay. Special education administrators, program specialists, psychologists, social workers, orientation, mobility specialists, resource specialists, family liaisons, because if we can't get you in the school, we'll get you at home, school bilingual assistants, nurses, special ed teachers, and other groups or individuals that might be identified by your district and approved by your state department, not of education, health and human services.
You know that, the private sector the public partnerships that you see everywhere, like, oh, community-based partnerships. That's the stuff.
Yeah.
With whom are you partnering with that you're introducing my child to? Like,
yeah,
I need to, like,
now,
but
one last page I want us to go to.
Okay.
And this is page 164. I want folks to see this is how these school-based services will go after you if you're not on Medicaid. Okay, this is code 1A.
Wait, I love this here because they forget, like.
Oh yes, we're going to give you the algebraic formula. Yeah.
But I'm sorry, but you've been teaching new fuzzy math for how long? Like.
Okay, this is page 164. So it says here.
Okay.
This is code 1A, outreach, facilitating non-Medicaid outreach. So in other words, honey, if you're not in Medicaid, we're going to get you in the door. We're going to get you hooked up. Okay, here are your examples. Informing families about wellness programs and how to access those programs. Remember, through your school. Scheduling and promoting activities which educate individuals about the benefits of healthy lifestyles and practices. Now, wait a minute. Who's defining the healthy lifestyle? Is it the school or is it the family? The family should be deciding what is healthy.
It's not the family.
Okay. Conducting general health education programs or campaigns and addressed to the general population. So it doesn't matter if you're learning or not, your general population, you're going to get this. That's the justification for expanding healthcare to people who are not even in school is what it's doing. Conducting
here, everything social, vocational, and then we get to education. Is everything, whether it's career counseling, social counseling, or then we finally get to academic counseling is how it is.
It's dead last, and you want to know why it's dead last? Because the Every Student Succeeds Act kicked academics down because it had to be aligned to workforce readiness. All right, let's keep going. Conducting outreach campaigns directed toward encouraging persons to access, here you go, Ann, social, educational, legal, and other services not covered by Medicaid. Assisting in early identification of students with special medical, dental, mental health needs through various child find activities and outreach activities in support programs that are 100% funded by the state's general revenue.
So again, an unfunded mandate, pretty much.
So if we don't get you one way, we're going to, by God, get you any other way we possibly can.
And then, guys, okay, this is important because all right, can you real quick ream off
Yes.
a page number? I just posted that document again,
Yes, ma'am.
important page numbers, and I'll type it in.
Sure.
Okay. So in that document that you just had, what are the most important pieces?
The most important pages. All right. Page 39. Find out what states are going after this, what states already have it.
Okay.
All right. Page 53 was the cost pools for the school-based services. Page 103 was the vaccines. Pages 118 through 120 will cover your codes and contract allowances for schools and services. Page 131 was your non-Medicaid outreach. Page 132 was your Medicaid outreach. Pages 134 and 135 were the school and education related activities. Page 150 was the plethora of healthcare people, supposedly. And then page 164 were the examples of the family overreaches.
Okay. Thank you. That will help me.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
All right.
So there you go. So, in a nutshell, this is how the shell game is going. And yes, we have such an opportunity to comment. I wish they would have been transparent enough to show us up front all this so that by the time we commented, we could have included all this stuff. But no, they have pieced it out as the government will do because they don't want you to know too much. No. Well, I'm here to tell you, I have a big mouth and I am not afraid to use it.
I love it. Okay. So, I think I've posted everything in there. But again, guys, this stuff, ed.gov, like you can sign up for they have so much data on everybody. Like sign up for their newsletters.
You can sign up to get press releases too.
Yeah, I get newsletters on grants that are coming out. Like I have signed up I get information from everybody. Is that so when we talk about, is that all of this now they have removed a lot of stuff. But you can find it. But so these dear colleague letters are important because everybody is because so then you think about then they have like the ones that actually go to your state superintendents. Then you have the ones from FEDA that go to your division your LEA super. So your superintendents get this information. Your state superintendents.
And they'll tell you, oh, no, we don't know what we're doing. Now you know where to look.
Yeah. I love when they play dumb. No, I've got the letter here that you got.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, so today, so what is today? 26th? 26th.
Yes, 26th.
If you go to
the Federal Registry.
Yeah. And I posted that link. I'll post. Yep. I will copy it and I'll paste it again.
Make a comment. And
then you'll hit right here, submit formal comment. Yep.
And then you can go in and you can register your dissent.
Yep.
I certainly did.
For the law, yes. And is that please make your mark, even if it is, you can't have my child. Even if, is it every comment matters, no matter your level of understanding, no matter your level of experience. If any of this sounds horrific to you and you don't, hey, you know what? Stay in your lane. We don't want you in our state. We don't want your money. Even if it doesn't have to be brilliant, but is that everybody matters because we pay for this. Like someone in the YouTube was like, where's this money coming from? Where does any money come from?
Well, here's the thing, Ann. If we're not paying for it with our tax dollars, we're seeing
our children will be
that pound of flesh.
Yeah, our children, our grandchildren, like they'll pay for it. Like when they don't have Social Security or, is that the government cannot create money. Like it creates money to pay for this stuff. So it's killing us and our families, but taking our money to continue killing them. Like, is that that's why people are like, so-and-so doesn't belong at school board meetings. They don't have children. My tax dollars pay for it, and I understand what it is.
Look at the majority of your property tax. The lion's share goes to the school, whether you participate in that school or not. But here's what's so draconian about all this, Ann, is that The federal government is saying, we don't give a rat's butt whether you're in the school system or not. We're going to get you into the school for the one-stop mini mart government service menu, and we're going to over-medicate you, under-educate you, and you're going to be fat, dumb, and happy and love it.
You said it perfectly, because none of this, I'm like, and they're worried about our children and getting educated, our academics. Like, is that where I haven't seen any documents like we're 50th in the nation for fourth grade literacy, eighth grade literacy, fourth grade math. But you want to give our kids more mental health while
Well,
fourth grade illiteracy is how they forecast prison matriculation. But the historically marginalized community doesn't seem to care either. And I went off at the NAACP and the ACLU at a board of education meeting shaming them because this history standards didn't have enough Dred Scott or Martin Luther King. And I was like, but our kids are 50th in the nation and can't read, and it's prison matriculation. But you speak for whom?
Well, you need to understand that both the NCAA and ACLU have gotten in on the Common Core machine because they love it. How great it is, because it's going to get everybody workforce ready, and that's why academics had to be put on the back burner.
And that's why equity is not equity. They don't really care about the children they say they speak for.
Let me, before we go, you have to hear this. Where is my phone? You have to hear this. Secretary
and I wanted to
today on Twitter. All right, on Twitter, as if the man has not done enough. Okay. He has the audacity to post, education should be the great equalizer, helping every student thrive no matter their background, zip code, circumstance, or language they speak at home. And then in a big purple background, schools should be engines of equity. So here's what I pop back to the Secretary of Department of Education. Nowhere in our Constitution did it ever state what schools should be. Equity is a financial term. Equality is a people term. And maybe that's something that Secretary Cardona could learn if he unglued himself from fascism.
Bravo. So his right hand is our former James Lane, who lived like 3 miles from my house. And so I like to tag him and Miguel Cardona in things and invite James Lane for lunch. Would you like to have lunch, Dr. Lane? Since you destroyed my county and then you went on to the the Department of Education as state superintendent, and now miraculously in 8 years you've become Miguel Cardona's right-hand man, and you don't think that Virginia is a part of this?
It's a cesspool up there because they keep rehiring or bringing back former people in key places from key administrations, because let's face it, when Trump got in, he recycled a lot of Bush's people, and when Biden
we have Youngkin appointed, I haven't looked at the new people, but he brought in one of Little Bush's assistant deputy secretary, state education, and Andrew Rotherham. So when people were last week all Sound of Freedom, Podesto, Clinton, and I was like, okay, Virginia, here's what you need to understand is that our governor brought in Andrew Rotherham, who was Podesto and Clinton's policy analyst, who was also on the 2008 Board of Education. Andrew Rotherham, look him up. He was Podesto's right-hand man under Bill Clinton. And then you want to start getting mad about Sound of Freedom? How about you care about who Governor Youngkin put on our Board of Education who worked for Podesto? Because I have about 8,000 pages of their emails that are extremely disturbing.
Let's stop and consider that D.C. is second as far as the biggest pedophilia ring out there.
And Virginia is the halfway point between Miami and Canada.
Yeah. And the number one pedophilia location is the Vatican.
Yes. But
so
is that,
yes, we're going to talk about one movie, but has it stopped it? Why have we not already been talking about it? What about
I've been in it forever.
Why don't we talk to those people who have actually lived it? Because they're telling you what you're seeing at that particular movie is not what we need to be focusing on. Same thing with what you're saying about we're looking at the wrong thing in education. We're over here whining and moaning about all the other stuff, but yet what are we really doing?
Right. They're fueling a race war. They're talking about all the moral, like now the whole thing is like the moral right is now evil. Like
Oh my stars.
I was called alt right by a log cabin Republican because now alt right, the extreme conservatives who
Yeah,
will not pander to the middle for kumbaya land, which is going to be fascist communism soon, which is where we've moved. Like we just got moved to
yeah.
the middle. And so those of us that refuse to believe that there's no other way than to be non-polarizing, which is an Americans for Prosperity cocktopus term. Look up the polarization research facility at Dartmouth that Koch opened up 2 years ago, and read about that. When you start hearing the word polarize, well, it's just too polarizing. It's just too polar. Okay. Where's that verbiage coming from? The
Yeah.
Kochs. And then you think about who's really driving anything in your state. And then just, I mean, it's a time to stand and
As you said, get in the arena because this
get
is
in the
the
arena.
time.
Like, whether you want, like, if you don't want to, guess what? I didn't want to. But I'm
I
also one of those people that once I see, I cannot not see.
Right, and that's why I even got started was because it was like once I saw it, it's like I couldn't unsee it. Now, trust me, here I am almost 20 years later, and I'm going, I wish I could go back and be complacent. I wish I could go back and just la-di-da and not have to worry about it. And it's not that I worry, but I'd like to not know some of the things I know, but I can't do that because that's not what is needed. What is needed is for us to get this out to people so that they can start doing their homework, not us do it for you. Let them do their homework to protect their family because you know your family better than anybody at that school. The only person who knows your family better is God himself because he's the one who blessed you to be in that family. So it is a huge responsibility to protect, to nurture, to stand for them when no one else will, because you know what? When they grow up, they're going to know, hey,
Yes,
we
they
may not
will.
have been rich, but we had family and our family stuck
Yep.
together and we're still here for each other through the good,
Yes.
through the bad. And we
Right.
didn't need a school based person defining what family is, what a parent is, because that's what our government does. They define every one of the roles parent, child, you name it. We can't let them win. We just cannot. So,
Because what
Anne,
we're
thank you for
seeing
this.
now with the mental health, real quick, has
Yeah,
been us not knowing what they've been tearing the family apart and doing to the kids. That's why we
yeah,
have this here now. And now they
right.
want to keep this the self-licking lollipop, as I call it, going. We created it, but now hey, we can fix it. And then oh, it's
Oh,
never going to get better. So it's just gonna.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
thank you. I know you've had a full day.
I just
And if
wanted to let everybody know that all the shows that I've done on this have been, I think, given to you so that you can share them with other people because
yeah,
they
I've
need to see that. I just want to let folks know that, if one of us is hemmed in by the government, then we all are.
this one is
We
really
can't.
great.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. George, I
Dr.
shared it.
She is a lovely lady. She
Birth
really
to
is.
death government control.
Yeah.
And that I posted that in here is that I listened to that earlier, and that's really great.
Thank you.
Part
Yeah,
two,
there's
and
a
there's also
part
part
one and a
one.
part two.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I gave both of those to you. But Anne,
Yep.
thank you for this opportunity because, we've got to speak up. We've got to encourage parents to, whether they like it or not, they got to get down and get dirty to save their kids. They really do.
Yes, they do. And I appreciate you
Because our
saying that.
school system has certainly gotten down and dirty to indoctrinate our kids.
That's right. And don't be afraid to say it.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Lynn.
All
All
right.
right.
Thanks so much,
Bye.
Anne.
All right. Bye. All right, guys. That was Lynne Taylor, Common Core Diva. I have posted all the links. I know that they've gone through on YouTube and through the Virginians for Children First group or page. I hope they went through the group, but I will go through and reshare. But again, August 1st, which is really going to be July 31st at midnight, is what they really mean. And So just to remind you, please make your mark. And when I say that, I mean make a comment, especially if you have special education children. But even if you don't, if you know somebody, I know a lot of mothers who have been grossly that have wondered where this money is going. Um, is that take a stand if for your grandchild, for somebody else's child. It doesn't have to be yours. I've pulled my children, and I'm not saying that they're by any means safe because who knows where you put your kids. I mean, can any of us say that our kids are safe? But we, whether you're a homeschool parent, this affects you. Private school parent affects you too. Any parent should be deathly afraid by now because all of this stuff, especially when you don't have representation that to stand up for your rights as they should be stood up for, like their gun rights, is that's the place that we are at. Is that we have people that can intellectually argue gun rights, but they refuse to argue parental rights when they have children. So one last thing is, don't forget if you haven't signed up yet, in Fairfax, August 12th from 4 to 8, we are flying in Lisa Logan from Utah and Deb Philman is coming up and it's going to be a workshop. It's not just going to be a lecture. And I will post the Eventbrite link if you guys need it. And it's also up on our website, vafcf.org. And then the amazing Dr. Fury from Virginia Medical Freedom Alliance, who is amazing because she's an actual mental health doctor. And she's going to say what we've been saying all along is, but it's going to be a work group. Lisa and Deb are putting together, it's not just going to be people lecturing at you. It's going to be a workshop is to where you're not going to leave this event with more questions than you came with or big words to regurgitate that you can't explain to anybody. They're putting together almost like you're in a classroom, and you're going through it, but as adults, not just kids activity. I mean, it's going to be something that's going to be very immersive. And, we are actual grassroots, unlike AstroTurf, which means, we are living, breathing, we grow organically. We are watered and fed by the people, for the people. And so things like this is that it costs a lot of money to bring in and do these things. And we don't take a single dollar from anybody other than you, the people. So stuff like this matters when we spend the money to bring the effort, to bring the people that will tell you what's going on without an outside agenda. Just because they're like us and they want to fix it and they want to make it better. So, please attend, share it with people. Again, it's on Eventbrite. You have to look up Fairfax and then type in Virginians for Children's First and it'll pop up if you don't find the link. But Deb Philman is from The Reason We Learn. Lisa Logan is out in Utah, Parents of Patriots. She's flying in on the red eye on Friday, coming in Saturday morning, doing the presentation, and then she and Deb are both flying out the next morning. So that's how much they care, and that's how much we care, is to bring that to you guys. And seating is limited because it is a smaller, more intimate, not just a stadium or a big room full of people talking at you. So please, again, inside our hidden curriculum with Lisa Logan and Deb Philman, is going to be August 12th at the historic Blenheim Center in Fairfax. It's actually called the Historic Civil War, something else, but for some reason it would not let me type that into Eventbrite. And then, of course, like I said, the amazing Dr. Fury from Virginia Medical Freedom Alliance will be there with a presentation, because I know that we've all heard her amazingness surrounding vaccines and all of that. So she's actually going to, I think for one of the first times, speak onto her experience as to what's going on with the children regarding the mental health, gender dysphoria, and what in the world is really, from a doctor, doing to these children. So it's going to be an amazing event. Please share this. I will share the link, and y'all have a blessed night. I'm going to go hug my children. Peace out.